But
My journey was a bit boring to start with because
yeah,
there's nothing like I was in some different field and I studied a lot
mm,
and I did audit
yeah,
trails, and that's not
yeah.
the case. So I started my career 8 years ago
Mm,
with cyber software in Pune only.
mm, mm,
So I joined there as a fresher, fresh out of college. I did my engineering in electronics and telecommunication.
mm,
And when I went there, I was one of the lucky few who got it sorted into data analytics COE.
mm,
So it sort of started from there. So right out of the university, it
mm,
was not just machine learning and artificial intelligence, but sort of in the similar lines because I was in the data analytics and business
yeah.
intelligence COE. So I was doing sort of work that involved a lot of analysis, inferential statistics, and kind of dashboarding,
Mm, mm,
um, basically doing post-mortem of what happened in the history.
yeah.
And then after doing that for a year or so, I got a chance to work on
Mm,
something that will happen in the future. So rather than doing post-mortem, we were doing something that was basically preemptive. So we
mm,
could prescribe preemptively that what should be done. So
mm,
I found that really interesting. So the first project was very small. It was like HR analytics that I did to predict the churn of our own employees.
mm,
So it was an internal project. And then sort of I moved on to do some bigger projects in logistics and manufacturing industry.
mm,
And I got to work with a client from UK,
mm,
and these guys had like 50 people company manufacturing industry that manufactured gas analyzers, and they were manufacturing it throughout Europe. So those guys had some good level of automation.
mm,
So got a lot of data there, got a chance to do some good predictive modeling there.
mm,
So then I thought, okay, let's take it up a notch. I wanted to do my master's, but I don't want to quit my job. So I took an executive program,
mm,
1.5 year from Aegis School of Business,
mm,
and I completed that program. And after that, I moved to a different company.
mm,
That was again into analytics, but I didn't like the work there, so I moved to
mm,
another one that was in oil and gas. It was fun doing things like waterfront movement, analytics of well,
mm,
when millions are at stake. So that becomes a bit of fun.
yeah.
Then I moved to a company
Mm,
here in Bangalore,
mm,
uh, which is basically AI lab dedicated for CIMB. So CIMB is
mm,
like the second largest bank in all of Southeast Asia. Earlier I had, when I told you about manufacturing industry, I had got a chance to go and work in the UK for some time. But
mm,
here I got a bit bigger opportunity wherein for 1.5 year I was in Malaysia and trying to understand their business, trying to meet
mm,
people like their business heads,
mm,
their compliance heads, CX heads. And then we came back here, we set up our own AI lab here with 25 data scientists,
mm,
and I'm one of the leads, leading a team of 8 data scientists here. So it has been quite a fun journey till then. Then I thought I'll do a PhD,
mm,
specifically in anti-money laundering, which I have been working on. So I wanted to do something on those lines using deep learning and reinforcement learning kind of stuff, deep reinforcement learning kind of stuff. But then I got to know, because I did executive MS,
mm,
I didn't have enough credits to go for PhD.
yeah.
So then I had to come back, take admission in a full-time course. But luckily, I shouldn't use the word luckily because these times are horrible. But due to COVID, the government of India has allowed online full-time courses for
Mm,
MS. So I took admission in Chandigarh University
mm,
for full-time MS course, and this is my first year there.
mm, mm.
So after I complete this, hopefully I'll be able to go for my PhD.
Great, 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 great. That's
That,
that's awesome background there. That's awesome background there. I have some couple of questions here that I would like us to walk through so that it's going to guide our conversation. Okay, so
Sure.
the first one here is that why data science in particular? Because you could have become anything else. You could have become maybe mechanical engineer. You could have become a lawyer or a doctor, anything else. But why data science or this field in particular?
So to start with, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist, but my
Mm,
dad said no.
mm,
So that's the story of every Indian family. I love animals.
mm,
Since I can remember, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist, but my
mm,
dad said no. So then I got into engineering. I had no idea where to go.
yeah.
Um I sort of started liking electronics, but then I got a job in IT.
Mm,
So uh, then they told me to do data analytics. I started doing it.
mm,
But the fun bit I found here in data science is it is the kind of science. So any kind of science you see, it requires equipments. It requires different kind of lab settings, and you need control environment, right? To do any experimentation, you need a control environment. In power electronics, like we used to do. I'm an electronics and telecom engineer for my bachelor's degree. We used to have like control systems, right? But here it's like free flow. You just have your laptop
yeah.
and you are free to do any research you want in the world. So that's the most fascinating thing. Like you have your lab on your lap. Like
Great,
that's
great.
like
That's
the very
awesome.
easiest thing that you could
Mm,
do. Like that's like you have the entire world to explore on your lap, right? And you could use AWS, you could use
mm,
Azure, and basically build clusters of data, and then do analysis on that, build
mm,
models on that. So that's kind of fascinating. Plus, the best part about data sciences is it is the most democratized sciences. So without a PhD, no one would let you near a lab, physics
mm,
lab or
mm,
chemistry
mm.
lab to
Yeah.
be a
I went
chemical
to labs,
chemist,
you won't go
yeah,
close.
theoretical physicist. You
Mm,
won't get a chance.
mm,
But here it's like it's democracy. Like
mm.
you want to do it, do it. There's no issue with that, right?
Great,
In
great.
fact, the way Elon Musk handled it, he
Mm,
started OpenAI, and he was like, "This is the system that you need. Do
mm.
whatever you want to do."
Yeah,
So
exactly,
that's like the most fascinating thing. It's like, and in the
exactly.
times that we are living in, basically data is oil, data is money now,
Mm, mm,
and you get to explore that. So that's like this is the thing that I find most fascinating about
great, great, great. So, with this kind of experience, if you are to restart your career, would you still choose this field, or do you
it.
think is this?
Obviously, of course, yes.
I understand.
Except for the studies part, I won't do the executive masters. I would do full-time masters. But yeah, I would definitely restart my career and take this. Maybe I would learn. I would start to learn deep learning much before I did. Right, I started deep learning after like 3-4 years of experience. I started dabbling into deep learning.
Mm.
Maybe I would start with like 2 years of experience.
No. So when you were starting out fresh, that I mean, with from your background, that let's say you did not have the coding background, you did not have those hands-on. So when you're starting out, which kind of resources did you start out with? Which kind of maybe platform, course, or something like that that you started from the basics that I mean brought you up to get more interest in the field? Any
Okay.
resource that you would like to share?
So actually, I did have a coding background
Okay.
because we do have even in electronics engineering you have C
Mm,
and embedded C programming plus microprocessor programming. So you do have a bit of coding experience, but yeah, implementing it on scale is a whole different thing. So I would suggest like to start with something very simple.
mm,
There's like even if you don't want to get into complex things to
mm,
start with, you can start with something very simple. Let Us See book by Yashwant Kanetkar sir. That's
mm,
like a very simple book and a basic programming you'll learn from there in like 15 days, a month,
mm,
and then start diving into Python. Now, because when we started with Java, then we
mm.
moved to R, and then we moved to Python.
Python.
So because we didn't know what was best.
Yeah.
But now it's like pretty defined. If you know Python, you can do everything on data science.
Exactly.
So start learning Python. Until and unless you are like developing like a high availability system that needs to go on C++ or Java, Python will be fine everywhere. So start learning Python. For Python, good sources, basically just download Anaconda and start exploring. It's not rocket science. It's just the you can read the document papers. You can read basic. There are a lot of tutorials, point tutorials available for everything that you want to do. So start with something basic. Start with building something basic that you would enjoy. I do a lot of astrophysics calculations on that just for fun, because I am a bit into stargazing, so I would do that just for fun. I would basically write code to equate the values of pi to a sound frequency and create a sound of pi. Like, you can do any stupid thing that you want.
Great.
You learn Python. That's the fun bit of it. Like, learning Python is very easy. So start learning Python. That's the base of it. The second thing would be getting familiar with data. So something like SQL. Don't just go for Hadoop, because that will become complex very fast. Start with something simple like SQL. SQL is very simple. It's just plain English. Select these things from this table, where this is the condition, order by this. That's it. That's an entire SQL that you would need as a data scientist. So that shouldn't be a problem. You can start with SQL. And one important thing, if you want to understand things well, right? Because many people call themselves data scientists these days just because they can write from SQL and import random forest. That's not data science. You need to understand that if random forest, if you're using random forest in non-parametric approach, a non-parametric algorithm, that's a blessing, because before that there were things like logistic regression, which had a list of assumptions which your data needed to follow so that you could apply that. And if you're not using that, you would have to use decision tree, which would overfit like hell. So random forest, it's a very big thing. Like, people don't, they just use import from SQL and import.
Yes, import and use it.
That's not it. You need to understand the maths behind it, and then you understand the beauty behind it. Right? In fact, I am of a belief that like, even if you see a tree, right, the leaves would be angled at 137.5 degrees from each other, so that they receive maximum sunlight. And that will be true for all trees, right? A flower will have like a number of petals in Fibonacci sequences, right? So maths can solve complex problem of life, which we haven't been able to solve till now. We are still trying to find out how life originated, right? That maths can solve. So they can solve any stupid problem that we humans have created in economy or anything. So SQL, Python, then understanding the maths behind. So that's a bit, that is the part that will require some effort, because I understand many people find maths boring. I don't know why, but they find it boring. But that will require some effort. So understanding linear algebra, understanding a bit of calculus. Why you want to understand calculus? Because you will be using things like cost functions. Right? If you're minimizing a cost function, basically you're trying to find a derivative equals to zero. Right? So those kind of things you'll have to learn, understand. So that's a part that will require some effort. And then using algorithms, that basically comes with experience. As you get to use more and more algorithms in more and more projects, the moment you see the data, you do your exploratory data analysis, you'll know exactly what to use.
Great. That's a lot of insights over there. That's great. So do you recommend certification, or do you recommend more hands-on projects? Which one should someone who is starting out focus more?
See, certification was something that was important 10 years ago, when you did a SAP certification and you went to US directly. In the IT industry, right? But nowadays certificates aren't relevant. Like, if we do a lot of hiring, we don't look at certifications. we look at what's the knowledge base that you have. So rather than going for some certification, participate on Kaggle, participate on analytics, crowd analytics. Take any data that you want and build models on that and share it on GitHub. And then in your resume, put that GitHub link so that the recruiter can see, okay, you have actually, because certification anyone can get. It's like, I have taught in certification. I know what we teach there. It's not something that will bring you to industry standards. So better do it yourself, learn yourself, and you'll do much better job than basically any certification can teach.
Great. So, how is your day-to-day activity like? Is it stressful? Is it boring? Is it interesting? How is it like? Do you have time to do other things apart from being with data? How is it like? I understand.
Yeah. So, to start with, because I'm a lead data scientist now, my focus is less on creating models and more on delivering solutions. So my day starts with, majorly, it'll start with meetings with stakeholders. I majorly look at compliance and Philippines, digital banking, all those kind of businesses, unsecured lending kind. So I'll have a meeting one day or the other with some of the other product heads, and I'll discuss their problems with them. And then they'll give one-line vague problem statements like, my customer acquisition is okay, but I'm losing I'm losing like 400,000 customers a year. How can you help us? Or something like, we have like 2 million alerts to investigate with 200 people in staff. It's not possible. How can you help us with that? So that starts with some vague statement, and then from that you have to basically see how can you help them. Formulate that problem into a basic data problem, formulate that, and from therein formulate that business problem into a solution, an architecture of a solution, which will involve models somewhere. Like, it's just not models, because data science is just not modeling. There's a lot of things. There's data flow, there's data management. Then from therein, you'll have EDAs, you'll have modeling part, and then those models needs to be consumed, because just giving output, and I'm coming and telling you, and you are from you have done you are a PhD from economics, right? And I come and tell you, and you are leading a business, and I'm coming and telling you, I have built a random forest model and gives 98% accuracy. You'll be like, so what? Doesn't make sense to me, right? Yeah. So I need to tell them that, okay, for your credit card business, what's happening is, for every 10,000 decrease in credit limit you do for a customer, you save $2,500. So what you have to do is, if you use this model, I'll help you decrease it for, let's say, 10,000 customers, and then you would save $2.5 million.
Great.
That's what makes sense to them. So converting those mathematical solutions to business outputs, and also creating UI or interactive, either interactive UI that they could use, or basically give them a report of what has been happening versus what will happen in future, so that they can actually consume it. Not just creating model and giving train and test accuracy. It doesn't end there. So you have to give that. So that's my role majorly, to look after all this, and basically facilitate my team to help do this.
Great. That's awesome. That demands a lot of thinking, a lot of background, a lot of experience to actually put the business problem from coding perspective to business perspective, and even making them understand it from your own perspective as well, because you might be understanding it in a different way from what they understand, but they just want to know the output, how your output is going to be relevant. That's great.
That's what I tell my teammates, that a good data scientist is a person who can speak business with business and technicalities with IT.
Great, great. That's a lot to digest over there. With regards to this kind of work that you do, I mean, it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of, dedication to deliver something which is going to be relevant to the business scenario. So, if you,
can I just get a second?
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. Hey, man. Hey, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's
actually we have a campus drive today.
Oh, okay.
So that's why my manager's calling me.
Oh, okay, that's good. So I was going to the point that with regards to this kind of work that you do, it demands a lot of thinking, a lot of effort to deliver good results to your clients. So if we think about your salary, are you happy with your salary? Are you happy with what you receive at the end of the day? Is it at par with the work that you do, or you do more, you receive less, or you receive more than the work you do? I mean, how is it?
Current market scenario, if I talk about the market scenario as a whole, it's great. Like if you have like 4 years experience, good experience, you would easily get around 2.5 million rupees C2C.
Great.
That was true 4 years ago as well. I was there. So that was easy back then. Then I sort of fell into the trap of starting to fall in love with the workplace. So I basically, when you stick to one workplace for a long time, yeah, that's gonna happen that your progress will slow down. So it's fine. It's still a good salary. I would say that okay, looking at market standards, I could get more, but it's like you have to find a balance, right? When you start enjoying the work, and you have enough of a CTC, then it doesn't matter actually that much. Like 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs doesn't matter.
Great. So, any kind of mistakes or challenges that you've faced so far, when you were starting out, and even as you got into this field, that you would like to share?
It's a funny one. So, my first presentation, I was presenting data science to VPs. In my first company, I had like 1.5 years experience, something like that. So I went on stage and I started presenting, and someone asked me some question, and I told them, I can predict the probability of you getting cancer. Don't do that. So, basically, you need to learn to how to be a good storyteller, to be a good data scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is a big learning, and I would say it's very important. Your communication skills need to be on top, because people you've interacted with, CX heads, like CX heads, they have been in customer experience all their life.
Yeah, exactly.
Their communication will be like next level. And if you want to present something to them and you don't have enough communication skills, they will take you seriously, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's like you're wasting their time.
Presenting things in such a way that people find it interesting, right? So rather than telling, okay, I work in data science, so this we build models, that, this and that. Like, when you tell it like basically how maths can solve everything in the universe, right? Like why in the same solar system the planets would be shaped like a spear, whereas the orbits of the planets are disc shaped. These are disc shaped. Why? They are in the same zone. When maths can answer that, it can answer. We use the same thing. We are using the same thing to solve problems on daily basis. So be proud of that and tell your stories with that confidence, and then people will start believing you. They are like, okay, these data scientists, they come with some model, some black box, and they say do this, do that. No, it's not just a black box. It's something that drives the entire universe. You need to come. You need to present this to the business with that confidence.
Right. So, if someone is starting out, whether a complete beginner or maybe the person wants to do career transition, which industry should they look at? Should they look at the finance, the telecom, the e-commerce, or where is the analysis more relevant for them to look at?
So I feel the industry doesn't matter that much, unless and until you just want to work on deep learning and like super fancy kind of stuff. Then you should better look at e-com and fintechs, because they will be in the forefront of those businesses. Something like self-driving cars, right? And for if you look at e-com, best of the best recommendation engines, right? If you look at fintechs, taking data from mobile and predicting whether this person will default or not, right? So that kind of stuff, if you want to do, yeah, go for fintechs, go for e-com, go for startups. But if you want to, basically, you're fine with any area of data science, right? And you don't just want to work on that. Of course, other areas. I have worked on deep learning in a bank. Even a bank is using data learning. So, deep learning. So, yeah. So I would say if you're fine with working on any area of data science, go for this. Go for banking, and if not, then you can or banking or like oil and gas, any of the big countries, pharmaceuticals, any of the big industry you can go to for that. And if you want to work on the best of the best things, then go for like Google, Facebook, e-com industries like Amazon, or any of the startup or fintech.
Great. So, is mentorship necessary or self-guidance is enough if someone is want to get into this field?
So when I started, I didn't have mentorship. So I would say one can get there, but the thing is, you'll have to discover everything on your own. But if you find a mentor, then life gets easier.
So, in general, how should one approach this field to be able to break through to enter this field? Because right now it's becoming more competitive, unlike when it was quite new, somewhere in 2013 or so. But this time, people have realized the potential of data scientists and data analysts, and a lot of people want to push it there. So, how should one approach this field to be able to survive to get into this field?
No, yeah, exactly. So that's the point I mentioned, right? It's a very democratic field. Anyone can, who wants to be a data scientist, can be a data scientist. But the thing that makes you stand apart, the only thing that's going to separate you from others is your knowledge. There's no other factor that's going to do that. Of course, knowledge and good communication skills. That I miss. So you need to be a good storyteller and you need to have good knowledge. So being a good storyteller, of course, when you go to an interview, you will be able to show how you are a good storyteller, right? But to speak that confidently, you need to build a base. So how will you build the base? The things that we discussed earlier, learn Python, learn SQL, and then build on it. Don't stop at SQL, learn Hadoop, learn MongoDB, learn Cassandra, build on that. Learn machine learning. Before that, the mathematics behind machine learning and the statistics, descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, then a bit of linear algebra, calculus, right? And then how does machine learning algorithms work? What are parametric approaches? What non-parametric approaches? How do they work? How is deep learning different? How is reinforcement learning different? Then you build on that. And you keep doing projects. You keep participating in Kaggle. You keep doing projects outside, even when you don't have any work, and try to build your GitHub repository that will showcase how you are different from others.
Great. So, how should one approach the data science interview or data analysis interview? How should they approach it so that they will be able to ease the interview?
Okay, so the basics of data science interview would be the same as I told you, right? People will try to know if you have knowledge on SQL, basically the data side, if you have knowledge on coding, and if you understand the data algorithms part, data science algorithm part, machine learning algorithm part, and if you understand data visualization and interpretation of those models, evaluation matrices. So these are the few areas that you need to focus on for the interview. And you need to basically, that's why I'm telling you that building a GitHub repository is very important, wherein you have all your good projects available, so that you can push the discussion from simple question answers to what you have already done. But because if I see a good GitHub profile, I would ask questions from GitHub, from their GitHub projects. And then that takes into a realm where every question you're asked is from the domain you know. Otherwise, when you're just having a communication with someone, they might have different experience from what you have. So might be, and they might not know what you know. So they then there's a communication gap, and then that's a recipe for disaster. So if you want to keep everything in your control, then build a GitHub profile.
Great. So, your last advice, your last words for the young ones out there, and even those who want to do career transition.
So, first of all, data science is not like the sexiest job of 21st century. It's not. There has been a lot of fascination with the field, right? And until and unless you enjoy maths and you enjoy converting business problems into models and models into business, right, this field is not going to be fun.
Interesting.
So choose wisely, and once you've chosen it, it's very simple to get in. It's just focusing on the right areas, right? Putting efforts in those areas, and building your base strong with mathematics, with statistics. Build that base very strong. Because once the base is strong, even if you have never read about deep learning, I ask you some question, you may be able to correlate from traditional ML to deep learning.
Great.
Something like we learned Fourier transform in second year college, right? We use this today for speech recognition. So build your foundation strong.
Great. That's a lot of insights over there. I mean, I've enjoyed the conversation and I've learned a lot over here. Thank you very much for your time.